Now is the time for you to show the fuck up for your library. We're not playing anymore. The current president of the United States clearly does not give a fuck about education and does not give a fuck about funding libraries, because why would he? It's a very democratic space and a space that provides safety and programs and free resources to underserved communities and minority groups, and it really is a community space that's a third place. So of course someone like the Orange Cheeto is going to want to break that up. If you are out here reading books and you don't have a library card, don't talk to me. Please do consider not only getting a library card, but actually checking out something from your library, because circulation rates and signups for library cards help libraries get more funding, because it shows the government, whether that be the US government or if you live in a different country like me, it shows your local government that libraries are actually being used as community spaces and need funding. So that's my little rant for today. It's very important. I do try to advocate for my library all the time, and the situation has become increasingly more scary in the US. So it's really important, y'all, if you don't have a library card, to get a library card. Even if you don't plan on, even if you're not a reader, just go get a library card, because you can do so many other things with your library card. You'll have access to so many other support systems and resources. And what do those resources look like? They look like things like museum passes, park passes. You can rent out toolkits, sporting equipment, camera equipment. My local library has instruments that you can rent out, a gaming room, movies, not just books, other media. So it's a win-win. Now that my very important rant is over, I want to show you the 5 pieces of media that I'm returning to my library this week. Starting with the book that was not for me. This is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I did the audiobook, majority of it on Spotify, but then I was out of Spotify listening hours, because this audiobook's almost 16 hours and Spotify only gives you 15 hours a month. So what was funny is this book, The Great Alone, in book form has 17 holds at my library, but the audiobook on CD had no holds. So I was like, okay, I'll finish the last 30 minutes via CD in my over 10-year-old car. I actually am reading this for a book club, and the theme this month was New Beginnings, which this definitely fits that. I think the most enjoyable part of reading or listening to this book, the narration was really good, I will say that. I really liked the description of the Alaska settings, the weather, the atmosphere. I thought that was really strong, and I could definitely picture myself being in the woods, being by the beautiful water. It sounds like a gorgeous, gorgeous setting. And so that is by far my favorite aspect of this book. But where it really falls flat for me is I truly do not care about the characters in this story. And part of that is because I don't feel that the author had enough respect or did enough research about the local indigenous communities. And that is evidenced by the author using indigenous slurs repeatedly throughout the book. And there's really no mention of indigenous people within the setting of Alaska, except for a really minor character. And it's just, it really rubs me the wrong way, because this feels like a story that is perpetuating a myth that Alaska was this desolate, barren landscape where nobody lived. And thank God the American settlers pioneered and colonized or settled in Alaska despite the harsh winters and harsh landscapes. That doesn't sit well with me. I really dislike the story. I also really dislike the characters. I thought they were very selfish. They got help at every step of the way. They did not have a lot of agency on their own. So I could not wait for this to end, and it wasn't for me, and I ended up giving it a 2.75. Switching gears for nonfiction, we have this fantastic book. This is called Home Truths: Fixing Canada's Housing Crisis by Carolyn Witzman. This book was published near the end of 2024, and it was put out, I believe, by the University of British Columbia. This taught me so much. If you are a Canadian and you want to know why it seems like the housing market is such a mess, this will shed light on so many aspects of the housing industry, and it'll also show you examples of how other countries around the world and even other provinces who are doing things differently than here in Ontario. This was so fascinating to me. I loved this book. It is chock full of factual information, and so for that reason, I'm not recommending this to the average like fiction reader. You definitely want to be somebody who is into the subject matter and is ready to kind of like sit down with a textbook style book, but really just teach you so much about non-market housing, renters' rights, the history of the housing industry, how we came to where we are now, where we have a severe lack of homes, especially in Ontario, where homelessness is a really big problem. If you are interested in this book, you will really enjoy it and get a lot out of it. Another nonfiction I read this week is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. This is by Omar El Akkad. I've not read the author's other works, but now I will definitely be checking them out. The label on this book says biography, but it's really more like a collection of essays. The author is Egyptian Canadian. I believe this is an essential reading if you are someone who believes in human rights, the rights of Palestinians, the rights for their own self-determination, the fact that this genocide has been ongoing and people are too scared to call it what it is, as the title alludes to. The author had a tweet go viral one day saying that one day when it's safe, when there's no personal downside to calling a thing what it is, when it's too late to hold anyone accountable, everyone will have always been against this. And from here, we get a collection of 10 different essays that build upon that idea. My new favorite essay is coming out of this book. It's called Fear, and it crystallizes this fear that I've had, and a lot of people probably have it too, is a fear of big flags. People being like overly patriotic and having these big flags on the back of their trucks or big flags in front of somebody's houses. Here in the West, it calls to mind something a bit different than maybe seeing a flag from your home country. Like if I saw like a giant Filipino flag, I'd be like, hell yeah. But something about seeing like a giant US flag is like, ugh. So there's an essay called Fear that explores that and takes on a whole different meaning of fear actually can be purchasing power, and how has that purchasing power lended itself to the genocide against Palestinians. It is just so well done, definitely challenging. So again, this is not for a nonfiction novice, but I think this is an incredible read, definitely one that you'll want to pick up. For new release fiction, we have Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fado. This is a super fun, weird romp set in like Victorian England, and it's filled with dark humor. I loved this book. If you've read Lapvona, this is what I thought Lapvona was going to be, but Lapvona was just so disappointing and I didn't understand the message. Here we have a governess who is sent to a home to take care of 2 children. And, you know, she's doing typical things like taking them around the estate, giving them French lessons, teaching them etiquette, and also joking about eating children. And things start to devolve as the story goes on. It's very fast paced because this story is, I think, just over 200 pages, just under 200 pages, actually. And it is so funny. The writing, I love the writing because it just builds upon this character. All the similes, the metaphors are really dark and kind of grotesque. The horror aspect of this novel, the grossness of it all, builds as the novel goes on, and it is a really fun time. There's also a lot of smart commentary about how women are perceived medically, socially, women's rights, lots of commentary about that throughout this book that I thought was really smartly done. For example, one of the characters believes in phrenology, and yeah, it's so good. It's so fun. I loved it. I am totally going to butcher this author's name. I usually look them up before I do these videos, but I didn't get a chance to. So this is The City in the City by China M, we'll go with. This is a very thought-provoking, cerebral, challenging nonfiction that reads kind of like, not a procedural, it is heavily involved with a murder case. So you are told this story through detectives and police, but it's really a lot more than that. It is kind of this dystopian world. We have two cities that are superimposed on one another, and the cities are actually kind of like city-states. You can't go into the other city, but because they're superimposed on top of one another, it's very easy to observe the other city, which is a crime, which is committing breach. Oh, this world is so fascinating. The world building here, really thought-provoking. It reads a lot like a dystopian classic, similar to Brave New World, 1984. We're getting a lot of like unique terminology because of this city on top of another city. And then this crime happens where both cities have to get involved and work with each other. There's a lot of smart commentary about borders, and as someone who doesn't really believe in borders, I think borders are one of the stupidest inventions that humans have ever created. This has a lot of commentary about borders, and you will definitely think of a lot of real-world examples reading through this book about other cities that have been deeply segregated. Now, for me, the ending really didn't work for me, but that's okay. This book, this story, this world is so memorable that I still really enjoyed it. I don't think it's a perfect book, but it's so unique and so creative. I will definitely be checking out more books from this author. And that is everything I read this week. If you've read any of these books, let me know what your thoughts were. Did we agree? Did we disagree? I'm always looking to expand my understanding of books that I've read. For the most part, I liked all of these books except for the one audiobook, but it's been a really strong reading month in March. But thanks for hanging with me, and I'll see you in the next library return.